Good morning, Dr. Wilson. My name is Bena, one of your external students, and I'm in the final year of my Bachelor of Global Security and Global Politics. Today I'm going to present a topic I have chosen for my first assignment, which is climate change, which will be Australia's biggest challenge, security challenge in the future. Climate change is already impacting Australia's weather. The temperatures are rising day by day, not only in Australia, but all over the world. In the past 4 years, up to now, especially since 2020, Australia is experiencing the effects of global climate change. Our average land and sea temperatures have increased. We also can see changes in rainfall patterns and increased fire dangers, bushfires all around Australia, and also the rising sea levels. In this video presentation, I will take you through the PowerPoint presentation, which contains all the information. So please relax and listen how climate change will finally challenge Australia's national security dynamics in near future.
In my talk today, I'm going to focus on a few key points. First, I will explain what national security is, then I will move on to climate change, and then I will explain why we should be concerned. Following that, we will discuss its risks and consequences of being left behind, and its future impact, as well as two catastrophic threats. And finally, we will talk about a paradigm shift and action plans. Defining national security means protecting our territory and institutions and ensuring the safety of every Australian. The effects of climate change will have an impact on military force, putting our infrastructure and readiness at risk. A rise in sea level and warming of the oceans will also aggravate tensions in military hotspots such as South China Sea. Climate change will disrupt social systems, posing the greatest threat to regional security. As a result of disruption in food, water, and energy supply, large populations will lose their homes. Government will lose their legitimacy, and another social upheaval will occur. What is climate change? In general, climate change refers to a long-term change in temperature and weather patterns. Over the past years, human activities have largely been responsible for global climate change, mainly agriculture practices and fossil fuel burnings. Dr. Robert from Australian Strategic Policy Institute claims that the government has largely ignored the threat posed by climate change in Southeast Asia, including rising sea levels, climate-induced famine, extreme weather events, mass migration, and more. The growing inhuman population, coupled with the need for our unsustainable approach to managing environmental damage, will lead to many countries in the Pacific submerging under the rising ocean level. Australia is on the front line of this vulnerable region. Although Robert's report focuses on Southeast Asia, but climate security is a global risk that the Australian government has yet to fully comprehend it. Global risks extend far beyond traditional security threats, such as the rise of Chinese, national and transnational terrorism. According to Australian Strategic Policy Institute report, it's mentioned that climate security is interconnected with other sectors such as food, health, and environment. As opposite to traditional national security threats, climate threats have no respect for national or sector borders. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute report states that the Southeast Asia has the world's highest sea level rise per kilometer of coastline, as well as the largest coastal population. There are frequent cyclones in this region, and some countries are vulnerable to catastrophic fires and heat. Climate change will also affect global food or water resources, leading to battle cross-border conflicts. It's predicted that by 2050, Australia's average temperatures will have already increased by 1.1 degree to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Bushfire risk will increase by 8%. Flood risk will increase significantly, and agriculture productivity will suffer due to droughts. Together, these developments pose a serious threat to human health and economic security in Australia. The consequences of being left behind for Australia's national resilience, economic position, and international standing are severe. From a diplomatic perspective, Australia's influence in the Indo-Pacific region is diminished. A major risk of climate change is high, especially in countries such as Vanuatu and Kiribati, which place a high priority on it. The Australian continent is rich in critical minerals that are necessary for modern communication, space technology, and renewable energy generation. Most of the processing and manufacturing takes place offshore in countries vulnerable to climate risks, such as Malaysia. The disruption of these sectors poses an economic risk to Australian defence, space, and energy businesses. There are two major threats associated with climate change that are predominantly serious. The first threat is climate change disrupting key infrastructure, including transportation and energy, in areas with high flood or fire risk. Australia has thousands of kilometers of road, rail, and power lines. Over 300 police stations, fire stations, and healthcare facilities will be threatened by coastal erosion by 2050. High demand for air conditioning during heat waves and fire-induced destruction of energy infrastructure will strain the power grid. For example, recently, Cyclone Gabrielle smashed into New Zealand's North Island. It killed 11 people and displaced at least more than 10,000. The second threat is to defense, where the impact of climate change potentially disrupts military capabilities. Defense forces often rely on the same infrastructure as civilians, creating shared vulnerabilities. Tanami Road, which connects Alice Springs to Kimberley, could be a crucial strategic asset if Australia faced an Indo-Pacific conflict. There is, however, a high risk of heat and flood damage to the road. The first priority of government is to ensure the safety and protection of its people, but Australia has failed to do so when it comes to climate change. Currently, the Australian government does not have a credible climate policy, leaving us unprepared to deal with the increasing severity of climate impacts. As climate risk grows, the Australian government needs to act with a strong sense of urgency. And for that, first of all, our leaders have to change their mindsets. According to Barry, the former head of the Australian Defence Force and a member of Global Military Advisory Council on Climate Change, according to him, climate change caused a simultaneous wheat crop failure in Ukraine, Russia, China, and Australia. And as a result of it, the food prices will rise around the world, triggering the Arab Spring and regional instability. He asserts that now energy and food prices are high because of the Ukraine invasion. They could lead to social unrest even in countries as far away as Egypt and Indonesia. In Barry's word, if political leaders do not act soon, we can expect to see increasing instability, conflict, and forced migration from neighboring nations and within our region. Climate change should be a top national security priority in Australia. The Australian government is not proper assessing climate security risk.
Thank you so much for watching this video presentation and have a good day.